up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Two Sisters, One Book. I'm Carla.
And I'm Amanda. We are two sisters, two moms, tackling one book at a time.
All right, so we just read chapters 16, 17, and 18, and we're going to talk a bit about some fun things we saw in those chapters. But before we do that, we're going to do a quick recap of what we learned last episode just to catch you guys back up and get you ready for this episode. So last episode, we talked about Daisy grabbing hold of what we now know to be the crystal chalice and feeling this pulsing energy through her. When her and her family try to escape, they are attacked and Daisy is taken. She is now in the grasp of these Fae creatures who are from the Sapphire Kingdom, who are looking to figure out which rock is the crystal chalice, and they believe she is the one who can help them find it. Our mysterious Fae man, who we now know his name is Tarian, shows up and destroys the Fae creatures and takes Daisy with him. And they head towards the fringe and the wall that separates the Fae realm from the human realm. He plans to take her through the gate into his land of fairy. So what did you think of these chapters we read?
There is a lot happening in all these chapters. I was like, oh my gosh, my brain can't contain all of the information. There's 16, I felt like was more action-packed type thing. 17, we learned a little more history. We learned a little bit more of our Fae man, Tyrion. Yeah, 18 was a lot of fun too. I found some very interesting characters that these celestials came up with. I like the opening chapters of 16 where we see as they get closer to the Fae Gates that our Tyrion puts his arms around Daisy because he could tell that she's starting to get more fearful. And he even said the closer we get to the Fae Gate, it's supposed to make you scared. But I thought it was very interesting how he said, don't worry, you could push that fear or magic away. I was like, wait, what? Clearly, because he does it. But I did I actually learned a lot of new words during these 3 chapters. And one of them was when they were talking about the Fae Gate. It was on the second page too, but clearly I'm a dummy. um I feel like if I say I learned a new word, does that make me sound stupid?
No, it makes you sound like a book reader who's constantly learning new words that we probably should know, but we just don't.
When they were describing getting closer to the gate, I liked the word that she used, desolate. Am I the only one who didn't know what that meant?
What does it mean? You tell me.
A barrier toward above the desolate land in front of it. So I was trying to figure out what that word meant. And then, of
desolate.
course,
Okay.
it's deserted of people in a state of bleak and dismal emptiness. So I was like, oh, are there people around just standing around like kind of zombie type things? But I do know it's like a deserted area. So it does kind of gives you chills when they're describing that. So I totally see why Daisy was kind of her blood turned into ice. Because I was like, that is kind of creepy. And then they have like plants and vines around that are like their thorns are longer than her leg. And I'm like how am I going to picture that? Like this? How long's her leg? Like I can't even fit it in the screen. So yeah, that would give me chills too.
Yeah, let's talk about the wall a little bit. We know that it's like an impenetrable barrier that is dividing the Fae lands from the human lands, but just some of the things that get put together to create this wall. I mean, we have, like we mentioned, the vines with the thorns, and I'm picturing like big thorns, like giant, like
bigger than her leg.
Yeah, like not your usual thorns that you would see on like a rose plant. Like I'm talking big and thick vines. There is the fear-inducing magic. And then, of course, we also have the celestials that are flying around to guard. It seems like a lot of work was like put into separating these two lands. Clearly, the old demigods, when they were creating this wall, they were like, we are going to make it so that nobody can get through and that it kind of does create this full barrier. So people may not want to try to pass through. I thought it was a little frightening. It's like, I'm not going to attempt that. I'm not going through it.
Turn back now. But I do like how when they got closer, they like walked into a vacuum. So they're like their voices were all muffled and everything too. So I'm trying to figure out, and I probably missed a detail. Like, is it like, do you feel that magic like even further back? Can you see the wall like when you're further back? Or is it just when you get to a certain point, then you start feeling scared and you're like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel right. I need to turn back and head the other way type thing?
So the way I gathered it was all the magic is mostly coming from the Fae side, right? So the human realms, technically, there's really not supposed to be magic that's really there, but what's happening, and this is what I gathered, is that the magic is sort of coming through the wall, like almost like it's trying to push through. So the closer you get to the wall, the more you start to feel the effects of what's on the other side. Like it's almost seeping through a little bit. Because as we know, I think it was Tarian that said, nobody has really been able to sit there and ask a demigod, like, well, what are the humans going to think of if the magic gets there? Like nobody cared about what was going to happen to the humans. The only care is let's just get this divide up and make sure that it separates everybody. So my guess would be at the closer you get to it, the more you start feeling the effects intensify. But as far as like seeing the wall, I'm pretty sure you can see the wall from a distance as you get closer to it. And then it just, because I mean, it's supposed to be this giant wall, it's supposed to be super tall and super wide. So my guess would be that obviously they're going to be able to see it from a distance, but it's probably similar to any other wall. You walk up to it and it just looks bigger and taller the closer you are to it. So yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, no, and I do like Daisy's reaction to when she does see the celestials. Clearly she could see them great because she's another word that I kind of already knew, but it just made it sense is her mouth was agape. Like so I just see her picturing as she's walking like this, like her mouth open and like dazzled by these beautiful flying creatures.
Yeah, the celestials are like supposed to be gorgeous. I mean, they were created from the old demigods, as we know, and they're supposed to be these gorgeous people who are like phenomenal to look at. You can't look away. So it's like picturing this like gorgeous man or this stunning woman, and you're like, wow, I can't look away because your beauty is just so perfect in every
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
I wish I had
yeah.
that.
I know. And we see that Tarian seems like he's a little bit like, why are you looking at these? Why are you looking at him? And we're just like, well, I mean, how can you not?
He's so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
So speaking of that, we also know that there's only a fraction of the guardians that are there, that the Diamond Throne actually took the celestials who are guarding the fringe and put them elsewhere, which kind of makes me think like, well, something has to be going on that's pretty big for them to pull pretty much guardians away from the area that they're supposed to be at to protect, because we know that the celestials are sort of like the protectors, and they'll come into the human realms and they will find any fae who have crossed over and bring them back. So it just tells me that if you guys are pulling people away from this guardian spot, what was going on that you had to do that?
Yeah, that is a lot to think about, huh? I feel like that has something to do with the obsidian court, maybe. But I do like how it does show like the closer they get, like I said earlier, it becomes like a vacuum. So their voices are muffled. And I found it funny that he was able to transport his horse because he put him through the thing and then but not the backpack, which I understand one backpack I wouldn't trust, but the other backpack I guess you could have, because as they were running and got to the end, she's like he like made him disappear anyways. So I was like, why didn't you just do that with your horse when you did that with your horse type thing?
So the horse got, from what I understand, got sent back like to where the human realms are. So they start over in this area, they truck along all the way, and the closer they get to the fringe, you can send your items through this almost like this portal that takes it back to where you originally started from. So that you're not just leaving your horse in the middle of the fringe with all the, the craziness going on, because we know like animals that are close to the fringe like that, are affected. So it's kind of a way to like transport them back to where you started from. Same thing with like bags and so on and so forth. But the backpacks that they were carrying items that they needed to cross with them. And Tarian does say he isn't able to transport any items from one realm to the other, just like he's not able to transport items from the fairy lands into the human realm. So we know that they have to get those bags across into the fairy realm with them. So he wasn't just going to put them through just to send them back where they just came from. Because, I mean, I think we can safely assume that he had the crystal chalice in the backpack, which he was most likely carrying. But yeah, so that's, I think, why he didn't use that portal, because the portal wasn't going to go to the fairylands. It was just going to go back to where they originally started.
Got it.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so then we know that they kind of cross through this almost invisible barrier, which is almost like, I guess it's the spot where right where you break through, you're going to see all of these people who are trying to get through, whether they're coming from another land or they're coming from where you are trying to get into the fairylands, but it's everybody who's trying to cross to get to the gate. So we see these fun little tree people. What did you think of the tree people?
I thought they were fun. I felt really bad for them once again because they just basically crossed over that line, and it was like to me a second where they kind of collided with the tree people, and Tarian was just like kill them or attack them. And I was just like, what if they were just trying to get back to where they're from or like vice versa? But you know what? He's been doing this probably a lot longer, so just do it. And so he was able to take on two. I was laughing during it because the first one that Daisy took on, it said it just, where did it say it fell? It just like kind of like fell, like disappeared, fell. I'm like, well, where did it go? And then she went to attack the other one because he was kind of backing away and was all like, I don't want anything to do with her. But she was already in fight mode and she's like, sucks to be you. You got to go. So I was just like, well,
But
where did the other one fall to? Like,
maybe Tarian like glamored them and got rid of them. I don't know.
I was, yeah, her training, you could see in this whole chapter, her training, rather it be from Zorn or just from her training with her brother, it totally came in handy, and it
Mm-hmm.
makes her like, I think her training was meant for this purpose. I feel like to put
Mm-hmm.
her to cross this bridge.
And this goes
Or
back to like
gate.
you and I constantly talking about, you know, these characters that start off as like really weak or have no training or skill at all, and then all of a sudden a few weeks in after being with the, you know, the Fae or whoever, all of a sudden they're these, you know, incredible warriors. And you and I have such a hard time believing that that could actually be a thing.
Or we
um
see Daisy, it's taken her years. Like
yeah.
she's
And
been doing this for years.
I absolutely love that they incorporated the fact that we started with her already being strong. She already knew these things. Like, yeah, she's younger. She hasn't had as much experience as like her adopted family or Tarian for that matter. But we see that she's strong and she knows how to like hold her own, which I can totally appreciate as a reader because we're just seeing her skills come out, but they've been there for a long time. So yeah, I've told you in the beginning, I absolutely love Daisy, and I think she's definitely by far probably my favorite female main character I've read about to this point. Um, just for her smartness, her wittiness, and then just the fact that she's a good fighter and she knows it. And it took her a while to get there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and a lot of training.
I
Uh,
know.
I thought it was fun when she did see the Celestials. It seems like they fought a couple Celestials, but there was a female and a male one towards the end that she was going after. But the female, I thought it was very interesting as she was fighting because she said, um, the female kind of looked down at Daisy with like a shocked face, either wondering why a human was fighting back or how, okay, I don't really remember exactly the words, but why she was fighting back. So I was just all
Hmm.
like, is that a shocked face because they usually don't fight back, or do you feel something more from Daisy?
Well, it could have been multiple things. I think it could have been the fact that she's looking at a human who is considered probably amongst all of the things that a celestial would see coming from the fairy lands and then from anything in the human lands, that a human is probably going to be more of the weaker of any of the creatures that they're going to see. So the fact that she sees this female young girl being able to take on celestials like she does it every day was probably a shock to her. Or it could have been that she's looking at Daisy and not even thinking about the fact that she's a fighter, but seeing something in Daisy more than what Daisy may know about herself. So it could have been any of it, you know?
Yeah. It was just
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But I do like the last celestial. I feel really bad for him because you could see, I feel like Tyrion and Daisy both, like in their minds, were like, we're so close to the end of this. We got it. So they're pushing forward. And then all of a sudden you have a spear that nicks Tyrion, but lands right in front of them. And then you have another one that just lands right in front of them. And then you have this big old, beautiful looking guy just drop down and land, and he's like in a fighting stance, like, no, you are not getting past. And I was like, you're right there. Like, what are you guys gonna do right now? But it was just really awesome to see how you have these two people who want to kill each other, who hate each other, and then all of a sudden, like, they could work so well together because Daisy's like, okay, Tyrion has the skies. I'm going to get this guy right here. No fear. She had like no fear whatsoever. She grinned, and it was just like she attacked. And not only did she attack, but she went for his wing too. So I was just all like, yeah, this girl is like a rock star. A rock star. I would
Yeah.
want her on my side too. So
Yeah, I don't even think she like hesitated. She sees the guy landing as she's running and she just takes off and is like, "All right, you're next." And then she just goes and attacks him. And clearly, she does a great job because she pretty much went up and was about to take him out. And we see Tarian comes over and grabs her hand and stops her, which is very interesting because you would think that he would stop at nothing to get across. So it was strange to me to be like, wow, he's actually like stopping her from taking out this celestial who is blocking their way from getting to where they need to go. But then Tyrion kind of goes on to say that, well, normally as a Fae, we wouldn't really take them out. They kind of hold grudges. Once you get past into the realm you're trying to get to, everything's forgotten. But if you actually are in there and you try to hurt one of them, they hold a grudge. And we just try not to do that. So I thought it was interesting, but I also kind of felt like it was a little bit of a cover up. Like maybe there was more to him wanting to stop her from hurting this celestial than him just being like, oh, they're going to hold a grudge. That to me just doesn't seem like a Tarian comment. I don't know.
well, I feel like that was an Easter egg in there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just things that I see
Because
and I'm like,
yeah. But I totally took it as he was trying to save her from holding a grudge because they do hold a grudge. And she destroyed a
hmm.
couple of wings and tried to kill somebody. So now they're after her. But now I feel like that there's something more than just that. So I will
Maybe.
keep my eye out.
I think you should. I mean, it could be, but I
Well, as a
also
first time reader, that is what I just picked up is that they do
yeah,
hold a grudge because they do. He even says like they're very protective of their kin and their home, even to like the smallest flower. So
yeah. I just
probably as
think
we read
that
more, we'll know more about it.
yeah, I think that Tarian seems to be this guy. Now it could go both ways because he doesn't seem like he necessarily cares what happens to Daisy after the fact. He's just trying to get what he wants out of this. He's trying to break her through. But we also have seen a softer side to him. I mean, he tried to say in the hotel room, "You thought I was a gentleman?" Like, no, I was here for a reason. But then we come to find out that he was kind of being a gentleman. So it could be that he was trying to help protect Daisy from having a celestial against her, or maybe there was more to it. I don't know, but there's some theories that we could actually sit there and ponder about for a while.
As no, she knows.
But so the other thing that we see is that we know that Tarian, when they get to the other side, he tells Daisy, like, that's crazy because normally when I cross there's usually only like maybe one or two celestials that try to stop and fight me. But this time, when he was trying to get across with Daisy, we see most of them, I think, averted their attention from where they came straight for Daisy and Tarian. And he's associating that with, well, it must have something to do with the crystal chalice, because Daisy at this point is pretty much stamped with it. We know that when she found the crystal chalice at the farm and she had this explosion go through her body, that this rock, or what you would call it, pretty much stamped her. So now she's like radiating the presence of the crystal chalice. And Daisy asked him, like, well, how long is this going to be radiating out of me? Because, she's like, we need this to stop because it's making me a target. And he tells her that it's not. It's like a forever thing. You're pretty much stamped with this crystal chalice permanently. So his concern is when they get into the fairylands, that people are going to automatically sense Daisy with this crystal chalice, and it's going to either cause her to be a target, or they're going to want to try to use her to their advantage, which is a little scary for Daisy because she is new to all this. I mean, yeah, she's a good fighter and she can handle herself, but you're going into a realm with a bunch of powerful people who wield all kinds of magic, and it almost seems like you're going to be this toy for people to fight over. So we know that Tarian is like, well, I'm going to have to basically make my mark visible, because we know when he kissed her, that created this bond between them so that everyone knows that she is his. Cute little way to protect Daisy, I think.
I didn't know he
Yeah.
kissed her to protect her.
No, I'm not saying he kissed her to protect her. I said because they kissed, it's now bonded to him. Obviously, like they're bonded. So he was telling Daisy, I'm going to have to make my bond with you now more visible. Because as we see with the Kelpie people, I mean, clearly we know they weren't very smart because they didn't even realize that she was bonded to Tarian. But he's like, I'm going to have to make it even more open so people know that you're mine and to not mess with you. So I thought that was more like he was kind of trying to protect her in that way.
I did like the beginning of 17 too, because they do make it over. He's having his tower kind of hiding them from the celestials, and you could tell that the celestials are trying to look in and everything. But I find it interesting how now that they've crossed, or I could have this scene totally wrong. They crossed, and I just pictured Tyrion going down this hallway, and then I took it as the celestials were pissed off at Daisy, so they're trying to change everything, like kind of like the Maze Runner. Have you seen the Maze Runner when the
Mhm.
grid is starting to shift and stuff, and the walls are caving in, and Tyrion runs to try to protect Daisy and everything, and I was just like, oh, see, they're holding a grudge now because she messed up. She attacked them. They're gonna make this difficult for her.
Yeah.
But
No, they do because they cheat.
well, I would too. You attacked me, like, so I wonder now too if that's the case. Is when she destroyed his rings, like his wings, are they gonna grow back normal? Are they forever destroyed? Like, what kind of grudge are we holding? Like, you took my wings away, like I'm gonna destroy, like I'm coming for you. Are you just damaged me for a little bit? I'm gonna see if I could just damage you right back, type thing. Does does it say anything at all in the book?
That their wings grow back. I don't know if they're necessarily like lizards where their wings will grow back like a lizard's tail, but
Well, then she's
that I don't
screwed.
think is. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily specified in there, but I do think it pissed him off. I think when I read it, that they knew that Daisy, because of this power that was radiating off of her, because of the crystal chalice, they knew we cannot let these two cross. And so they probably figured, oh, we've got them. We'll take them on. But then they kind of were like, crap, that girl is a lot stronger than we thought. So once they made it to the gate and Tyrion blocked them out so they couldn't come in, they're like, all right, plan B. Let's change the course in there. Because it seems like from what it's mentioned that they don't normally change the course. I don't think they've done it in decades. And Tyrion realizes that pretty quickly because he's like, yeah, they haven't done this in a while, and now everything has changed. And what he thought was right, which would be going technically right in the tunnel, could very well not be the right direction anymore.
Yeah. And I like how he kind of leans on Daisy to figure it out too. Like, he opens up his mind to her so she could start. She's all like, tell me everything. Don't hold back. And he's just like, probably thinking, okay, like I told her to trust me. Now I have to trust her on making the right decision and stuff. So I really enjoyed that part of Tarian. He's giving her the trust, even though she's never been there before. Cause I'm like, 100% guaranteed. I would have been like, I've been here 1,000 times. You've never been here. Let me just handle this situation type thing.
Yeah. And we know that Daisy really wants, like, she doesn't want to cross. She's not trying to get into the fairylands, but she's doing everything she can to listen to him and sort of help him because she just wants to make it out alive. You know, she's like, well, I'm going to be forced to go anyways, and I might as well just try to help the situation and make our path a little bit easier. And I like that. I like how strong Daisy is and how smart she is because she literally told him they're going to most likely go back to something that they're familiar with because they didn't have a lot of time to change the course. So, what is it that they're used to doing, which we know in their training? This is something they're used to. So if they're going to make any changes, it's going to be a quick spur of the moment change. They didn't have time to sit there and go, okay, well let's move this bad guy over here and we're going to take this course and throw it over here. Let's throw the snake guy in the third section. Like they don't have time for that. So they're like, quickly just make the change. And Daisy was smart enough to figure that out. I thought that was kind of cool of her.
Yeah, no, it totally brings out her smart. And then once again, she has like a flashback of Zorn going through her head, and he's all like, trust your instinct always. So then that's what she started to do. She's like, it is this way. We're going to go that way, which they do. And by the way, they are holding hands the entire time, and she likes it because she even said she feels more safer and comfort and relaxed when she's holding his hand, which I just wanted to throw that in there
Yeah.
that they're getting a little, you know, they like it. And I do like how he was playful the whole time. When was it? Because they do get to this creature who he thought was going to be a snake, but then you hear a click, 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 and she's all like, "Does your snake have claws?" And he's all like, "No." But her eyes were closed the whole time. But when she opened them to see the creature in front of her, she did say there was like this gold light coming from. And I was like, is that him? Was he producing her light this whole time to see it? Or is that just something from the creature?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even think about it like that. That's an interesting thought.
Well, because now I'm starting to, I could be wrong. Anything that has to do with black and gold, because his eyes have like a gold ring around them, and his magic is basically black and gold. I figure that whatever's black and gold has to be connected with this guy. And the fact that the light was a darker light with gold rings around it, I was like, is he producing her light because she can't see?
Well, we do know that they had illuminating plants or what is it? Illuminescent plants in there that were creating light. And obviously, like the closer down they were getting, the plants were like, we're not giving you any more light, right? Because there's no benefit to giving you light to see the monsters ahead of you. So I don't know. I mean, it could be either one. I'm not really sure.
I just thought it was super sweet. But that creature is very funny looking in my brain. It's this guy, not guy, it's this creature, frog like creature, who has one eye, kind of a big mouth. And I'm thinking like sharp, long, crazy teeth with three fingers and a thumb. So the way they described it, I'm like, okay, is it little? No, it has to be big because they're terrified of it. But it moves so fast. It moves so fast, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I would want to fight that thing either. So good thing she
Yeah.
has
No.
somebody to fight with, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, and it was good teamwork between the two of them because she's like, I really need two knives right now. And he's like, all right, well, I got you. And so she uses hers to help propel her up. And then he tosses his to her and then she stabs it in the eye. So it was
Yeah.
great teamwork between the two. I mean, honestly, if they weren't trying to just like kill each other in the end, I'd be like, can we just put these two like together permanently, like in some type of a war setting or just anywhere? Like, let's let these two fight together because they do really good communicating. You know, for two people who can't stand each other, who are after each other, their communication skills are pretty on point. I got to give it to them.
Oh yeah. Because all she had to do was give him a look. Like she looked at him, and then he let go of his hand, and they both like went together without even saying a word. I feel like these trials that they're about to go through to get out of here is going to bring them super close together, whether they want to or
It is.
not. I feel like, yeah, they're going to. they're going to be a great team. Probably the best team out there. They're going to be unstoppable. So whoever's messing with them, you better watch out because they're going to be coming for you.
Exactly. So going back, I wanted to talk a little bit about this bond that Tarian is sort of stuck to. As we know, when he kissed Daisy in the hotel room, he told her, "You are going to be stuck with me. Your kiss is mine. Nobody else can be with you intimately like that without it being a death tag on them." And in this chapter, we get a little bit more familiar of that bond and what's happening. And I think I had mentioned to you before, do you think that when he went after Liam, the bartender, if it was pure him just being jealous because he's taking it literal where he's like, if anybody comes and tries to get with you, they're going to get in trouble, or was it something more? And we learn here that it actually is something more. He is magically tied to this bond. So what it says is him and Daisy are talking, and she talks about how she knows that if she kisses somebody, that person's going to be in trouble, and she understands the whole situation. Well, he says, "I would love nothing more than to choose how long that claim will last, to not apply it at all. That magic is not because I am Fae, it is because I myself am trapped. Part of my servitude in the court comes with what the queen and her minions think of as a joke. A curse, by all accounts. Once affixed, I cannot release that claim. It's a brand upon you, upon any of my lovers. If you should grow tired of me and want to choose another, you will be forced to repeatedly see your lovers die by my hand. I'll be magically forced to oblige. My first and only love felt the sting of my entrapment acutely until the court tired of their games and ended the claim themselves." So he does tell her that it's not a choice he's choosing. It's something he's forced upon magically, because the court is using this as kind of like their fun little games where they're like, well, this guy is pretty strong and he can take anyone out. Let's just mess with this guy a little bit. But it makes me think, why did they want to mess with him? What is it that they didn't like about him that they wanted to use this as some sort of a game? So when they were in the hotel room and he was trying to tell Daisy, like, we need to stop, and he was trying to warn her, if you kiss me, like, this is what's going to happen. And she's like, I don't care, And I mean, it goes to show that this isn't something he wants. It wasn't something where he's like, well, I care about you and I'm just going to get jealous moving forward. It was literally, this is something I'm magically obliged to. So you will never be able to be with anyone else again. And I don't know, in a way, it's like kind of a sad thing for him.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that queen did something to him.
Yeah. But why? I wonder why. We know that they probably are just crappy people, but it's like,
I
why
think
use
he's
Tarian
the
that way?
true I think he's the true heir to the throne. And oh, that's too much like Cinderella, huh? Never mind,
I don't
forget
know. What
it.
was your theory? No, I mean, it doesn't mean it can't be like Cinderella. Nobody said this book is Obsidian and it's not a story about Cinderella at all. It's just called
Oh,
Obsidian. So let's
well,
hear
because
your
I was
thoughts.
thinking maybe that the king and the queen, or just the queen, is like a little bit related to Tyrion, and he's really the true heir to the throne and everything, and they're just like, no, you'll never get it, we're gonna trap you. Like, it makes so much better sense in my head. They're like basically messing with him to the point where he can never become the true heir to that throne, basically. And now they're just getting a kick out of it because they see in their eyes like, this guy's supposed to be royalty, but now look at him. Look how low you got. And they just think it as a game. But now I'm like, oh, that's kind of like Cinderella. So I could be totally wrong. Because, she has
Well,
like the stepmom, stepsisters, and she's supposed to
yeah.
be a high ranking person too. And they took that from her.
Yeah. And he talks about how their children, the children of the king and queen, are like jokes, and they're just, they would never do good at ruling, but he is. I mean, he mentions that he is basically used as a joke for them. So I feel like we have yet to probably get introduced to it, but there definitely seems like there's going to be something coming along that explains that connection between Tarian and the Obsidian Kingdom's royalty.
Nice. She's just an evil
um
person.
I know. The other thing he mentions in this conversation, though, is about his previous love, which I thought was so sad. And this again goes back to them playing a games with him. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like a punishment. They're like, oh, you love this girl? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to basically bind you. So since you've kissed her, you are now forced magically to only be with her and she to you. So that almost kind of made her feel, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I would assume that it made her feel probably trapped. I think it's safe to say that that feels kind of trapping. And she was not allowed to love anyone else, which in turn made her probably fall out of love with Tarian. It was almost like she, you know, he basically that he was going to have guilt for his previous lover having to pay the price for what he is considered to be in a prison. You know, it's not physical prison where he can't get out, but in a way it is, because he's going to almost have to torment the person that he loves and not allow her to go out and be with anybody else, even if she falls out of love with him. And as we see, it sort of backfired on him in a way, because it came down to the only way to break this magical bond is by one of them dying. And Tarian was too much of a gift for them. He meant more to the royals to keep him around. And they kind of grew tired of it. They're like, I'm over this game. Let's just kill her and be done with it. And so she ended up losing herself because she was just in love with this man at one point. And it was so sad to me to see. And it kind of brings a different side of Tarian out, where we kind of think like he probably isn't as bad of a person as he is. And maybe he just wants to try to fix things and make amends. And he didn't want to put anyone back in this situation. But Daisy is like, well, why did you think that I would be okay with this? You put me in this situation. And he's like, well, because I felt you were strong. You were strong enough to be able to fight against their games. And I kind of liked his response to it. What did you think?
Oh, he had a really good response to it. He clearly saw her even in the beginnings of the chapters when her and Mordecai were together fighting, and he saw her at the apartment fighting. And then he also gave her like a little test type thing with his shadow people, and she passed it. So I feel like her character is completely different than his lover, because she even said, well, if it was between you or me, why didn't she just kill you? And he said, like, he laughed out loud, which I thought was really funny, because in the book it says like he put his hand over his mouth or whatever. And I was just all like, I could just see him going like that, but she couldn't. She was too sweet. She was too kind. She wasn't able to kill him. And I feel like, because after he said that too, he said that I'm more valuable than she is. So I'm wondering if you really can't kill him unless you are one of the royals who probably put this curse on him. But I see that he looks at her as a strong fighter, warrior. Once again, we go back to the celestial. She wasn't scared. She didn't hesitate. She just attacked. So she's more keen to keeping herself alive when we go to the courts, rather than him probably have to hovering over her like how he probably did with his love, you know?
Yeah, and it also makes me think that maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe he thought Daisy, because she's this great fighter and she maybe she was like somebody who could actually take out Tyrion. And maybe after all this is over, his main goal is to be taken out so that they can't use him anymore as their plaything, you know? So
Maybe
he
he did
picked
make a
somebody strong
comment.
like Daisy.
Yeah, he did make a comment about that, because he's like, if you're going to kill me in the end, might as well have a good night out of it. I feel like this whole chapter that we're in right now, all he was thinking about was her and how to get her off. Like he was very, and she's just like, you know what? At the end of this, you could totally give me a big O if you just focus. Like, I just need you to focus. And I felt like he's just like, oh, okay, challenge accepted then. Like,
Talk about sexual tension. I mean, but then it also begs the question for this king and queen who are supposedly trying to figure out a way to get over the fringe, right? And take over the human realm and start anew, or whatever you want to call it. Tyrion seems to really dislike these people. I mean, they seem to have really done him wrong. I mean, using him as like this plaything and this toy for them, it's like, why would he want to bring the crystal chalice back to them? Because he has this determination to get Daisy back? Could it be something, again, that he's more magically obliged to do? Or do we think there's maybe some ulterior motive going on? Because why would he want to help the people who have been just tormenting him?
That I don't think he wants to help the people. I think he has his own plan. This guy is always like 10 steps ahead. He's very smart. I feel like there's something more to him that we just don't know yet. And I don't see him wanting to help the Obsidian Court at all, because he even did say he would kill half of them if they try to touch Daisy by the magical curse. Yes, he would have to, but he didn't seem like he would care. Like me, if I cared about the people there, I would have been like, please don't make me kill people here, you know? But I don't
Yeah.
think he wants to help them. I think he has a plan of his own and he's not sharing it with Daisy just quite yet. And I'm very curious to see if we find out here or in the next book.
Yeah, no, that's a great theory. I kind of like that theory. We'll have to think about that one a little bit. So as we know, the trials continue. This, frog-like monster is, I guess what we can call him, is like the first one, and they continue fighting different monsters all the way through. So essentially, in order to get through the gate and into the fairylands, they're going to have to fight all these different trials. And it seems like, as we discussed before, that they're doing pretty good teamwork wise. They're able to get all the way down to the end, and they're basically right there. They're about to cross through into the lands when something stops their path. And we don't know what it is yet because it wasn't said, but it makes Daisy stop enough to be like, okay, this is like makes her halt, right? And she does say something that it's probably not enough to make someone like a Fae nervous, but a human, it's going to make me nervous. So clearly the Celestials know that he is trying to smuggle over a human, because they cleverly placed this last trial for them to fight as something we don't know yet, but to scare her. Any ideas or thoughts of what it might be? Or, maybe do you have no idea? I'm just curious.
I really don't know, but I feel like with such the detail in the beginning with the plants and then after the shifting, the plants are alive, right? It seems like the plants are alive because
Yeah,
like
they're
they like
magically enhanced.
rewrapped. Okay, magically, so they're not alive type thing. So something that scares a human and not him. Maybe it's something that could only kill a human and not him. I
Okay.
don't know. I have no idea. I know it probably has to do something with a plant, though.
Yeah, when I first read it, like my first thought was it had to do with the plants also, because I feel like we've already seen a lot of monsters and creatures fighting against them. And the one thing that's been mentioned that's there that we haven't seen are these plants. And we know that once they got into the wields, that's where the magic starts to occur. So we know that the plants are sort of magically enhanced. And so my initial thought was maybe it had something to do with plants and poison. That was when I read it for the first time, that's what came to my mind.
Poison
We
ivy.
also,
Perfect.
well, yeah, because we know that earlier when the Celestial used their spear against Tarian, it like grazed his arm, and he had this black, like vein like thinging come out of him. And he's like, oh, it's the poison from their blades, and it's my magic trying to ward it off. So it kind of makes me think like, well, what did they put on their blades for that? And now we have these plants that have thorns. Like, that's kind of what came into my mind when I first read it. Am I right or wrong? I don't know. We're going to find out. But that was my initial thought.
Yes. I think it has something to do with the plant, too, then.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we end the episode? Anything we might have missed that you found fascinating?
No, but we love you guys.
We do. We are going to read chapters 19, 20, and 21. Amanda, we are almost done with the book. We are actually closer to the end of the book than we are to the beginning. I have to double check. I want to say there's like 25 chapters. So that probably leaves us like maybe 2 or 3 more episodes left, depending on how we're going to break this down. But I will say that once we get to the end of this book, you are going to I already know you're going to be like, I have to read the next book, because you're going to want to know what goes on. So, with that being said, If you guys are not already, make sure you are following us on social media. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. If you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple, you can definitely check us out on YouTube as well. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe. That way you can get the episodes right to you once they are released. If you can also leave a comment, let us know how much you guys are enjoying this podcast, because we are having fun. We love hanging out with you guys, and we just want to hear your thoughts on if you're enjoying it, and if there's anything you want us to start adding in, we would love to do that. But yeah, other than that, I guess we will see you guys on the next episode and the next chapter. Bye.
Bye.